Good morning, friends. Ann here. Got my cup of coffee, got the Word of God, and today's reading is from Luke chapter 10, verses 30 through 37. This is the story of the Good Samaritan. If you've been around the Bible for a while, you have heard this story, but hang with me because I hope that I can pull out something different that maybe you haven't considered before. So this story is actually an answer to a question that Jesus had received from a lawyer. The lawyer wanted to know, who is my neighbor, after Jesus said that you should love your neighbor as yourself. And the lawyer, wanting to justify the fact that he didn't love everybody as like he would love himself, said, well, who is my neighbor? Who is it that I am supposed to love? And in the Jewish culture, it would be just the Jewish people. And Jesus answered and gave them this story, how there was this Jewish man who was on this road that all of his listeners would have known was a road that you don't travel on unless you want to have trouble. And so there was this Jewish man traveling along this very dangerous path, and he gets beaten up and robbed and left on the side of the road for dead. We hear that there are three people that come by. The first two people, one is a priest, one is a temple assistant. They don't help that man because they don't want to be considered unclean. They have things to do. They have better things to attend to, and they don't want their holiness to be made unholy by the mess that this man was in. They prioritized their religiosity over the compassion that they could have shown and should have shown to this man. This man was their people. He was Jewish as well. But because he was in a mess, they crossed the other side of the road and prioritized their own religious officiating, their own religious roles and jobs. And then we have this man that comes along who is a Samaritan. Now, we call him the Good Samaritan, but the people there in Jesus's day would not have called him good because they would have said, no Samaritans are good. The Jewish people hated the Samaritans. They felt like they were nothing because they were half Jewish and half from another group of people. So they had intermingled, and the Jewish people totally despised them. But here in this story, we read that the Samaritan, the one that lawyer would not have considered his neighbor, was the one that came close and bandaged the man and tended to his needs and went above and beyond, took him to an inn and paid all his bills. And then Jesus says, who was the neighbor? Who was the one that was the better neighbor to the man? And the lawyer had to admit it was the Samaritan. Friends, as you look at your lives, I want you to know that theology and ritual are meaningless without the love of neighbor. You have these two people, the priest and the temple assistant, that were walking by, that because of their theology and their legality and all of the rituals that they considered super important, they would not meet the needs of this man who was in pain. Friends, you and I can have, quote, perfect theology, and you and I can do all the things, the churchy things that we are supposed to do, but it is meaningless unless we really love our neighbors, unless we love all our neighbors, even the ones that would be considered Samaritans, even the ones that would cause us to be, to get in the mess of their lives, to get a little dirty, to get a little messy. Friends, theology and ritual are meaningless without love of neighbor. Have a good day.